Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Good evening, folks who are just joining us. Welcome. We'll just give it a few seconds for people to come in. Good evening to those of you just joining us. We'll just give it a few seconds for people to keep coming in. Good evening, folks. Lovely to see you all here. Hi, Janet. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Carol. Lovely to see you all here. Hi, Trish. Good to see you again. Okay, I think we have most people here. That's lovely. Well, good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the online Naturetrek Roadshow. For those of you joining for the first time, I'm Sarah Frost, Naturetrek's marketing manager and a cruise leader, and I've worked for Naturetrek for 6 years now, and I'll be your host for this evening, speaking to you from Hampshire. Now, as many of you know, we'd normally be out on the road delivering these talks in person in different venues across the UK. But one of the many advantages of doing this online, of course, is that our friends and leaders from overseas can be joining us this evening. And it's great. It's a great pleasure to be joined by Alexander from Honduras and Carlos from Panama, in addition to Operations Manager Paul Stanbury, General Manager Andy Tucker, and Tour Leader Byron Palacios, all here joining us from the UK. We have over 480 households joining us this evening, so likely 700 or 800 people tuning in. So a very warm welcome to all of you, and a very good morning or afternoon if you're joining us from a different time zone. We continue to have people streaming this live overseas, which is fantastic. If this is your first time at one of our webinars, please do just ask any questions you have using the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen. We'll type replies to you throughout the evening, but we'll also read questions out at 9:05 after the last presentation. Please feel very welcome to use the chat section as well, which is at the bottom of the screen on a PC or at the top of the screen on an iPad. Feel welcome to include all attendees when you're messaging. It creates a nice chatty atmosphere, but we gather that messages pop up for viewers on an iPad and they can distract from or obstruct the presentation, which we didn't realize. And we had a very chatty audience on Friday night. So thank you all very much for your interaction. But just so we don't make it distracting, we'll ask people to limit the chat for when speakers aren't presenting. So during the interval is absolutely fine, or during the Q&A section at the end, do feel free to do it. It's a nice opportunity for you to chat to your fellow nature trekkers. That's no problem. And just on the Q&A session, just a reminder that if you do have a question, we're very happy to answer it. Please do just type it in the Q&A section, not in the chat section. Now, if you're on our mailing list, you should have received our 2021-2022 brochure, which is out now. We are continuing to have another busy week of bookings, so please do request a copy if you haven't received one. You should be receiving it soon. If you're not on our mailing list, you can just email us at info@naturetrek.co.uk, and we'll be more than happy to pop one in the post to you. Likewise, our website is a huge resource of information, and it has further details of our tours, including itineraries and reports of previous holidays. So please do go and have an explore online. Finally, for any people who are new to Zoom, don't worry, we can't see or hear you. It's only the panelists that are in the spotlight. So tonight, our speakers are taking us to Central America, a destination which offers spring and winter sunshine and an exotic cocktail of colourful birds, fascinating mammals, lush rainforests, impressive volcanoes, and beautiful islands and beaches. And perhaps if you're interested in an exotic holiday to the Americas but aren't sure where to start, Central America could be an ideal option. So I hope you're sitting comfortably with a drink and some nibbles, and it is my pleasure to hand you over to my colleague Paul, who will introduce himself and will take us on our first tour to Costa Rica, a destination I could go back to again and again. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Just bear with me 1 second while I share my screen. Okay, while that's all booting up, I'll just quickly introduce myself. As Sarah mentioned, my name is Paul Stanbury. I'm an operations manager. I've been working for Naturetrek now since 1996, so a fair few years. And I'm based in the Naturetrek office, and I look after a wide range of our tours. Sub-Saharan Africa, obviously some countries in Central America, Argentina, Chile, cruises, quite a wide range of different destinations. And I'm going to be talking tonight, as Sarah mentioned, on Costa Rica. And this is a country I've very much enjoyed going to over the years. And I'm just going to show you some of the wildlife and the scenery highlights, and just mention some of the tours that we operate there. So where is Costa Rica? Well, it's on the southern end of the isthmus, the narrow isthmus of land that joins North America to South America. So on this map here, you'll see it's down in the south, just north of Panama. And it also shows some of the other countries, of course, we'll be talking about tonight, Honduras and Panama, to name but another two. So Costa Rica is it's a small country. It's about a quarter of the size of the United Kingdom, and covers a land area of only about 0.1% of the surface of the planet. But it more than makes up for all that small size, and it's the sheer diversity of wildlife it contains. Although it only covers 0.1% of the land mass, it's home to over 5% of the planet's wildlife. So the wildlife here, the bird life in particular, is incredibly diverse. We run our tours to Costa Rica mostly between January to mid-April time. This is the drier months of the year, and the time of the year when the North American migrants are down in Costa Rica wintering. It's also, of course, a great time for us to get away from the cold, dark and dank British winter. We run tours that focus on the north of the country. We run a tour that's down in the south, and we'll also, of course, be more than happy to do tailor-made trips as well if you prefer just to travel independently. So first of all, I'm going to just run through the northern Costa Rica tour that we operate. We've been operating this trip now for many years. It's guided by some fantastic local guides. The local guides in Costa Rica and throughout Central America are absolutely first-rate, great naturalists, really nice people, and they always do a great job for us. They'll meet you at the airport. We fly into San Jose, the capital of Costa Rica. We're using the direct British Airways service. We're keeping our fingers crossed that after the pandemic, the British Airways will still be offering this service. They should do. It's a popular flight, so we're forever hopeful. So we fly to San Jose. Then we, hopefully my cursor will work. So from San Jose, we move down into Los Casales National Park, the Talamanca Mountains, to get some high altitude species, then drop down to Carrara on the Pacific lowlands, up to Arenal volcano up here, then across to the Caribbean lowlands and back down. So, and that circuit, that clockwise circuit of the country takes about 2 weeks. And it's great, and Costa Rica is blessed with the most incredible national park and protected area system. Over a quarter of the country is protected, and it's why it's one of the most ecologically diverse countries in the world. So all of our trips start, say, with a flight to San Jose, and we normally give you a night in San Jose to recover from the long flight. We stay here, which is the Hotel Bougainvillea. It's on the edge of the city, has fantastic gardens, huge gardens, absolutely full of birds. So get up first thing in the morning and just have a wander around the gardens, and I'll introduce you to some of the warblers and the orioles, tanagers, etc. that you're going to see on the rest of the trip. We then head south up into the Talamanca Mountains, and these mountains reach a height of over 13,000 feet. And as we ascend, we're going through a variety of different forests, starting from quite lowland forests, moving up through some agricultural areas and up into the true cloud forest zone, and then actually above the cloud forest onto what's known as the Paramo. We stay here. We stay at about 2,200 meters down along the Savegre River. And this is the sort of habitat you'll be exploring up in the mountains. Beautiful cloud forest, dripping with lichens and mosses, full of birds, and actually cool as well. It's a nice place to start a trip to Costa Rica and you can acclimatize before you drop down into the hot and humid lowlands. So we stay at Savegre Mountain Lodge, a lovely lodge up in the mountains, surrounded again in big gardens, very, very comfortable rooms. This is quite typical of the accommodation we use in Costa Rica. Costa Rica is blessed with not only some great national park system, but some really lovely lodges as well. And the lodges we use are typically out in the countryside, out in the different habitats, and you can just walk straight out of the lodge, and you're surrounded by birds and other wildlife. The main reason we come up to the mountains, of course, is to see what is arguably the most beautiful bird in the world, the wonderful resplendent quetzal. And they breed up in the mountains here. We see them. I'm not aware that we've missed them on any of our tours to Costa Rica. At the time of year we go, the males are resplendent in their breeding dress with this very long iridescent green tail. They really are a spectacular bird to see. One of the most beautiful, probably the most beautiful of the Trogon family. On occasion, they actually nest just outside the lodge. So when I was there a few years ago, would walk 20 meters from the room, and there was a resplendent quetzal nesting up in the tree just on the side of the path. But the bird life here is just fantastically diverse. This is hummingbird land, and there are a wonderful variety of hummingbirds at this high altitude. A lot of the lodges will have hummingbird feeders, so during the heat of the day you can retreat back to the lodge, get yourself a drink, and just watch the hummingbirds coming to and fro to the feeders. These are fiery throated hummingbirds, and these occur quite high up on the mountain, a bit higher than Savegre Lodge, but we'll take you up to another lodge which has these fantastic feeders just full of hummingbirds. Down at Savegre's feeders itself, you've got a variety of species to look out for here. The green violet ear is a common bird. The wonderful magnificent hummingbird. This is one of the larger species of hummingbird you'll see in Costa Rica. And also one of the smallest, the little volcano hummingbird, tiny little almost bumblebee type bird. And in total, on a 2-week holiday to Costa Rica, we may see 30 species of hummingbirds. So the diversity of bird life here is absolutely fabulous. And we may see 350, 400 species of bird in total. There's so much to look at. It's another fantastic birds to enjoy. This is a long-tailed silky flycatcher. Might be very much of a waxwing, and they behave quite similar to waxwings. They occur in flocks, so they descend on berry bushes and feed on berries. Whilst overhead, you can keep your eyes up as well as looking down into the bushes. And one beautiful swallowtail kite, another incredibly graceful and beautiful bird that's often seen soaring over the forests up in the hills. But you're exploring the range of the forests here, the cloud forest, looking for feeding flocks of birds, mixed flocks of tanagers and warblers. So a wide variety of other species. It's just a great start to a tour of Costa Rica. Then from the Talamanca Mountains, we're dropping down now into the lower, the lowlands of Costa Rica, and going across to Carrara National Park, which is on the Pacific.
Make sure your camera is powered on.
And in Carrara, we stay in Villa Lapis, another nice lodge. Again, surrounded by wonderful habitat. This time a tropical lowland rainforest. And we're taking you out on walks. We're getting up early in the morning, normally getting up at first light, because that's when the bird activity is at its best. So you're out walking the trails slowly, looking for the birds and the other wildlife. You come back for a siesta in the middle of the day, and then out again later in the afternoon. The birds get a lot quieter during the heat of the day, and it does get hot down in the lowlands. But at Villa Lapis, there's lots of shade to sit down and relax in, a swimming pool, and of course lots of birds to enjoy as well. When you're not out looking for them. As well as the bird life, there's lots of other fantastic wildlife in Costa Rica. The butterflies are incredibly diverse. The blue morpho butterfly here is one of the most spectacular. Very, very difficult to photograph with its wings open. They tend to land and then close their wings instantly. But you see this wonderful iridescent blue color flashing through the forest as you're walking along the trails. As well as the daytime birding, we'll also take you out on night walks as well to do some owling. The spectacled owl here is one that's regularly seen around Carrara. We'll be looking for other species as well as nightjars and other wildlife. There'll also be the opportunity to take a boat trip out into the Tarcoles estuary. And this is often quoted to me as being one of the highlights of the trip of the whole 2 weeks in Costa Rica. The bird life out in the estuary is absolutely spectacular. There's lots to see. Roseate spoonbill here is one of numerous water birds that we'll be looking for on our time out in the water. You need to look around in the mangroves and the fringing vegetation for smaller birds. Lovely little prothonotary warbler. This is the male. These birds breed up in North America and winter down in Costa Rica. And then we end the day on the bridge over the Tarcoles River, watching the scarlet macaws flying into roost. And Carrara has quite a relatively small population of scarlet macaws, but they tend to fly out over the river on their way off to roost. And it's a wonderful way to end your day exploring the park, seeing these incredibly magnificent and majestic birds flying overhead. Then from Carrara, we head north. We spend a couple of nights at La Ensenada, looking at, again, for water birds, waders, and some wetland species. And then we head back inland and spend a couple of nights at the foot of Arenal volcano. Costa Rica is blessed with some fantastic landscapes as well as the bird life. Arenal, about 10 or so years ago, was erupting. It's actually stopped erupting now. And it's just a wonderful place just to spend a couple of days. You're at mid-elevation here, so you're getting a different variety of birds. The bird life on the Pacific side is quite different to the Caribbean side. And as you go over the central spine of Costa Rica, the country has a mountainous spine down the center, and you're getting a different suite of birds as you go up one side and then down the other. We stay at a nice lodge called Arenal Observatory Lodge, which has a fantastic view out over the mountain. And they have feeders at the lodge, and so you can see a wide variety of different species, not only at the feeders but out in the forest as well. This is tanager land. There's tanagers like the mid and high elevation forests. Silver-throated tanager here, just one of numerous colourful species that we'll be looking for. The mixed flocks often contain North American wood warblers, which winter in Costa Rica and also migrate through. Blackburnian warbler here is one of the brightest, and the hummingbird feeders, again, absolutely full of some wonderful, dazzling kaleidoscope of different colours. And this is the violet saberwing, often called the violent saberwing because they're very aggressive to the other hummingbird species around. And some mammals here as well. Mammals in Costa Rica are quite tricky because it's quite dense vegetation, thick vegetation, but we're looking for the wonderful three-toed sloth. Then we move over to the Caribbean side and we end our trip in the Sarapiquí area with a few nights at Selva Verde Lodge. The Caribbean slope is, again, tropical rainforest, but with its own suite of different birds and other wildlife. Here we're looking for keel-billed toucan. We'll visit La Selva Biological Station, which protects an area of ancient old-growth rainforest. The station is it's a working biological research station, and so as well as doing the research, they take groups out into the forest bird watching. You have a chance of seeing this amazing bird, the great curassow, which is as big as a turkey. Hopefully maybe great green macaw as well. And one of my favorite birds, the magnificent sunbitten. This bird occurs quite widely in Central South America, but it's a fantastic highlight to see, especially when it flies, the pattern and the color of the setting sun on its outstretched wings. And so other things to see as well. The reptiles and amphibians in Costa Rica are absolutely fantastic. The black and green poison dart frog here. And And there's also plenty of fantastic areas to explore down in the south of the country as well. Corcovado National Park on the Pacific side is one of the most diverse regions of anywhere in the world. We've also got Piedras Blancas National Park, more rainforest, and in the mountains, up near the Panama border, which again has its own different variety of birds. You can extend your northern tour down to southern Costa Rica by taking a flight from San Jose down to Golfito. But if you want to spend your whole trip down there, then have a look at our southern Costa Rica itinerary, and that focuses, as the name suggests, on the parks down in the south of the country. The highlight, of course, is the Corcovado National Park itself. And Corcovado covers over 430 square kilometers of the Osa Peninsula. It's the largest tract of primary rainforest remaining on the Pacific coastline. And it was touted by National Geographic as being the most biologically intense place on Earth. It really is a fabulous site. A lot of it's still inaccessible. Inland, there are still jaguars, there are still harpy eagles, and they live in the dense, inaccessible center of the park. But around the edge where we explore, there's a wonderful variety of birds, and in particular mammals. It's one of the best places really in Costa Rica to see mammals. And we get here by boat. You hop on a boat in Siripe and take a 2-hour boat trip out along the edge of the Siripe River and then around to Drake's Bay. And we stay at this place, Drake's Bay Wilderness Lodge, right on the edge of the Pacific Ocean, surrounded by forest, so only accessible by boat. Scarlet macaws are common in Corcovado. It's one of, and they have their highest population anywhere in Costa Rica down in these forests. As I mentioned, the mammals are particularly diverse here as well. And if you're particularly keen on seeing some mammals, then this really is the place to go. The white-faced capuchin monkey is commonly seen. You're often woken up in the morning by the dawn chorus of the mantled howler monkeys howling from the treetops. There are northern tamanduas to look for, the arboreal anteater, which is seen on occasion. And this is the best place to go looking for Baird's tapir. And we've had a fair number of groups that have been very lucky over the years and seen this amazing animal, which is very, very difficult to see in much of the rest of Central America. And if you go to Corcovado a little bit later in the year, between sort of June and October, then you stand a chance of seeing humpback whales, which come up into the Gulf here to mate and give birth. But even during the earlier months of the year, when most of our trips go, we'll take you out on a boat trip at some point during your stay here, and we'll look for dolphins and other wildlife. There's on the edge of the bay near Golfito, there's another park called sorry, the brain's gone. Piedras Blancas National Park. It's more rainforest, and there's a nice lodge called a Skeener's Lodge, a little bit more basic than most of the lodges we use in Costa Rica, but surrounded by some fantastic forests. And as with a lot of the parks, a lot of the lodges we use, they have their own network of trails. If you want to opt out of a morning or an afternoon excursion and do your own thing, there's lots of different paths to explore. The forest here, incredibly diverse again, rufous-tailed jacamar, one of many species you'll see. I did a walk there myself a few years ago, and just in an hour and a half we clocked up over 80 species of bird. Incredibly diverse place. To also head out at night as well and do night spotting walks, with head torches. And here you're going to see a few some interesting insects. There's some fantastic reptiles and amphibians to look for. The eyelash pit viper here, and that Costa Rican favorite, the red-eyed tree frog. The forests here are very wet, very damp, and they're fantastic for reptiles. And we are looking into doing a new series of herpetological tours, and we'll certainly be looking to do one in Costa Rica over the coming couple of years. If anybody's particularly interested in reptiles and amphibians, just watch this space. So just lots and lots of different reptiles, as well as the other birds to see as well. A La Cruche Biological Centre, just up in the mountains. We'll stay at the La Cruche, the guest house there. More fantastic mid-elevation birds, lots of tanagers. This is a golden hooded tanager and speckled tanager. And these birds come into the fruit feeders they put out just in front of the restaurant. So and then, as well as the tanagers, there's blue-crowned motmot to enjoy here as well. So the forests here, again, in mid-elevation, so you're looking for mixed feeding flocks of warblers and tanagers and birds and flycatchers, manakins, wood creepers. The diversity is absolutely fabulous. And one of my little favourites, the golden-winged warbler, another North American species that winters down in Costa Rica, and they like these mid-elevation forests. I actually found them fairly easy to see at La Cruche. And a few mammals as well, Central American agouti. If anybody's interested in plants, of course, Costa Rica, the diversity of plant life here is absolutely fabulous. Loads and loads of orchids. And at La Cruche, there's the Wilson Botanical Garden, where they have an orchid garden. So if you're particularly keen on orchids, this is a great place to go. So my time is now up. I will end with a sunset shot over a hummingbird. And just to say thank you very much for listening. It's great to have so many people tuning in tonight. If you have any questions, please do let me know. And I will pass over now to Carlos. Thank you.
Hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much, Paul, for this wonderful presentation. It's really great, Costa Rica. So now we're next door. We're right in Panama now. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Let me just share my my desktop here. I think, Paul, do you stop sharing your screen? Okay, let me just share mine now. Hold on. So my name is Carlos Bethancourt. I work for the Canopy family in Panama. We have 3 set of lodges: the Canopy Tower, the Canopy Lodge, and the Canopy Camp. Let me just share my screen here now with you guys. There we go. All right, there we go. All right, so here we are. So thank you very much, Paul. Let me just put my timer so I can be on time with you guys. Thank you very much. It's 2 in the afternoon here in Panama. It's very warm, it's very hot. So it's my pleasure to be here presenting to you guys these wonderful talks that have been done by Naturetrek. So let's start to let you know where is Panama located. We're a small isthmus in Central America. We're not in Central or South America. We're right in the middle there, where Panama can be a bridge and barrier for most species of bird that come from North America. They land in Panama, and species of bird from South America also come into Panama. So we're a very small country. Here are the lodges: the Canopy Tower, which is in the Soberania National Park; the Canopy Lodge, which is in the Cocle province, is in the foothills; and the Canopy Camp in the Darien forest, which is east of the country. Here's the map. So Canopy Tower is right and next to the Panama Canal, and then in the Cocle province, and then the Canopy Camp in the Darien jungle. So of course, Panama is well known by the Panama Canal, which is one of the big money maker for the country, you know, for the economy of the country. So it's very, very important, and you know, it's one of the during the tour that we do with Naturetrek, one day we'll go there to look at the operation of the canal, and also to look for birds and some mammals around there. We can see some capybaras in that area. But this is my backyard. This is the Canopy Tower. That's where when I started working there, you know, I'm glad it was already done. But this is when the Canopy Tower was an old radar tower recycled into a lodge. And then Raul Arias have this wonderful idea of transforming this place into what it is today, the Canopy Tower, and then create the Canopy family, along with his son, Daniel, who is also now part of the company, which is really great. So some of the birds that we can see around the Canopy Tower is this beautiful red-capped manakin, one of the birds that can be seen just out of the window. And there, the hawk migration is spectacular. you can see thousands of raptors going through the isthmus of Panama during the hawk migration, which is November, October and November. A really wonderful event that you can watch in Panama. This is the Soberanía National Park. If you can see where the canopy tower is located, the whole area is protected and is about 55,000 acres of protected land. We have recorded over 500 species of bird in this area, and then it's very close to Panama City, about 15 miles from Panama City. It's nice to be up in the morning from the observation deck, having a nice cup of coffee or tea. Tea for me, I don't drink coffee, and listening to those beautiful great tinamou. This is one of the birds that is quite common to hear from the canopy tower, either in the morning or the afternoon. And this is the call that it makes. Really nice. Or if you can be also wake up by these howler monkeys, very, very loud howler monkeys that they live around the Soberanía National Park, and there's different troop that comes around the canopy tower. Very, very loud. Ooh, you can multiply that by 10. It's nice to be up on the top early morning, just listening to the bird before the suns come up, and you're right there. You know, you just from your room, you just wake up and walk upstairs, and you're right there looking at different nature, different birds, different wildlife. Some of the highlights that we can see around the canopy towers are the motmots, and this is the broad-billed motmot on the left, and you can see that green sheen. And then the whooping motmot, which used to be one species called blue crown motmot, now it's been split into many different species. Green honey creeper, one of the common birds from the canopy. All these photos you're seeing here have been taken from the window of the observation deck. Kill-bill toucan, another beautiful bird that we can see from the observation deck. Trogons, like this garter trogon, used to be called Palacios, now it's called garter trogon, and it made this call. Black hawk eagle, another gorgeous bird that we can see around the forest there. Normally we can see it soaring around the canopy tower area around sometime between noon to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can hear this bird calling. Gorgeous. Cinnamon woodpecker, another beauty. There's different woodpeckers that we can see around the forest there, like lineated woodpecker, crimson-crested woodpecker, black-cheeked woodpecker in the area. Mas tataira, another of the nice highlight to see around the park. Of course, the blue cotinga. This is a female. We do not discriminate females, so this is always good to show what the female looks like. And then here we have a beautiful male blue cotinga. Geoffroy's tamarin and other mammals, you know, Naturetrek, when we come to Panama, there's different options for you to do the mammal tour or some of the birding tour between the canopy tower and extension to the canopy lodge. But this is one of the mammals that we look for is Geoffroy's tamarin. It's a near endemic between Panama and Colombia only. And this species come almost every day to the canopy tower. We hand some bananas at night for the kinkajou or the olingo, but when they don't come at night, these guys show up during the day to eat the banana or whatever is left in the tree there. Potus are really great. This is a common potu, nice to find during the day, and they mimic the branch. This will have a nice call, made this call. Really neat. Going up from the canopy tower, we can go up to different locations. You know, we have different trips to different places, and one of the places is Cerro Azul for the striped-cheeked woodpecker, one of the endemic that we can see in that area. Nice honey creepers like shining honey creeper. Speckled tanagers can be found in mixed flocks up in the little bit higher elevation. About an hour from the canopy tower, we're right in totally different habitat, and that's really, really neat. Rufous winged tanager, another bird that people wanted to see when they come and visit us in Panama. It's nice. We do not have TVs. The canopy tower is quite comfortable, but we have big windows, so you have to have your binoculars handy all the time. Here's more of the regular rooms. comfortable rooms, hot water, cold water in there, and great food, really good meals in there. The Pipeline Road is a place that we must visit during your stay with us at the Canopy Towers. It's one of the places where over 300 species of bird have been counted in 24 hours. Really great. Jacamar is one of them, the great Jacamar. Make this call. And here is the male on the left-hand side. You can see that white throat, and the female on the right. Plain synops can be found in the mixed flock of birds. This photo was taken by my friend Rafael Lau. Strict-chested ampitas. Ampitas are not very easy. We have to work hard to try to get them. But this is one of the birds that we can find around the Pipeline Road if you are patient. And they make this call. Very nice. Hummingbirds are always nice and beautiful to see, like this beautiful crowned wood nymph is another great highlight for the tours. It used to be called violet crowned wood nymph. Now it's lumped together with the bird that was green crowned wood nymph. Now it's crowned wood nymph, one species. This is the Canopy Tower, great place for photography, great place for bird watching. This is my friend Rafael Lau, and then my friend Eduardo Estrada, which some of the photos I'm showing here are there, but this is mine. This is my photo, and I'm very proud of this one. I digiscope this one about 2 months ago. This female three-toed sloth gave birth, and then I started watching them during the morning until finally I got to see them just, kind of smooching, and what a lovely photos of this three-toed sloth. This is the dining room of the Canopy Tower. That's where we get together at night after a beautiful day, do our checklist, and have a nice meal. This is a photo about Eduardo Estrada, beautiful night monkeys. This is Panamanian night monkeys, one of the mammals that we look for during the Naturetrek mammal tour. From the Canopy Tower, we move to the Canopy Lodge in the foothills. So it's a totally different habitat. It's over 600 meters of level, which is a great combination of different birds, some overlap, but totally different. It is the crater of the dormant volcano. So it's really great. This is the Canopy Lodge. If some of you look at our webpage, www.canopytower.com, on the first page, you're going to find a live camera. That live camera is from the Canopy Lodge. Before preparing for your next trek tour, you can start looking at some of the birds and learning what shows up at the Canopy Lodge feeder. It's a live camera, really nice. Some of the birds that we look for around the waterfall near the Canopy Lodge is the sun bittern, a gorgeous bird. Here's the Canopy Lodge. Again, no TVs, but big windows, nice balcony, big rooms, and you always be ready to look outside your window for wonderful birds and wildlife. Rufous mudmud, one of the birds that comes regularly to the feeders. Black-chested jay, quite regular around the Canopy Lodge ground, and make this call. Rufous crested coquette, one of the gorgeous hummingbirds we get to see around the grounds during certain time of the year, and then also can be seen around Cerro Azul and also along the Pipeline Road. Toddy motmot, one of the birds that people wanted to see when they go to the Canopy Lodge, and I made this call. Really nice. Of course, frogs are always nice to see. We have a nice little pond around the lodge, and it's always nice to look for red-eyed tree frogs around that area, and other type of frogs as well. Mixed flock of birds like tawny crested tanagers are quite common around the grounds and a little bit higher in the place called La Mesa, Altos del Maria, all those spots that we visit during the Naturetrek tour. Owls are really nice. The spectral owl, the trogon, the colored trogon, another one that can be seen around the lodge. Black-faced grosbeak, mixed flocks can be found too. This is a really neat and beautiful grosbeak, as well as a bar forest falcon. So we had a really nice group of different birds that can be seen in the lodge area. And from the lodge, we visit different area. No, this bird didn't hit the window. That's how the bill is shaped. This is the white tip sicklebill. Is one of the birds that we look for when we are at the lodge. It's not an easy one, but it visits the heliconias, a special type of heliconia that have the same shape of the bill. And then from the canopy lodge, we'll go to the canopy camp in Darien. Darien is one of those beautiful forests, and it's one of those places that we have been working very hard for the last 10 years, I will say, when we were looking for a place to build a lodge or something. So we wanted to do something different there. And then the canopy camp, which is a beautiful ground. This is the dining room area, the common area, which is nice with hummingbird feeders in there. But we wanted to do something different from the other location. And on November, we opened in November back again. And then we have our first visitor was Anna and his family. Anna is a 6 years old little girl. She was just enjoying nature and enjoy birding. She will get up every day, early morning, so we can look at the feeders and enjoy birding. And this is really give me some really good hope for the future, which is what we need now. Black-cheeked woodpecker is a regular bird at the feeder there at the canopy camp, as long as crested oropendola, and also chestnut-headed oropendola there. We also have the white-faced capuchin. They come quite regularly into the canopy camp feeders. This is what the tent looks like. You do not have to bring your tent. Everything is set up. It's a fire-style tented camp. I say that because when I tell people, oh, we have the canopy camp, people say, oh, we don't do that anymore. We don't camp anymore. No, everything is set up. It's an African-style tent camp, which is very comfortable. A beautiful bed. We have a solar panel, which is electricity 24-hour. Some of the birds that we can hear early morning or see is the bright rump attila. And they made this call. Gorgeous. Here is another tent, a little bit bigger. We have some 2 tents that are bigger and other ones are with 2 beds. Very, very nice. Each tent is looking through the forest, so you have a different view in different locations. Some of the birds that we do see regularly around the camp is the king vulture. So it's really nice to photograph. Macaws, like blue and yellow macaws are possible. Great green macaws are possible, and chestnut-fronted macaw also are possible in that area. Here's the bathroom. Each tent had their own shower and toilet. So I do put a picture there because we do have a contest during the week to see what is the best bird you can see from the shower or from the toilet, whatever. So because it's open, looking to the forest and the sky, actually very, very nice and well designed and well done place. And last, I was there in December and my highlight was the pale belly hermit that came right into the shower there. Beautiful hummingbird that can be seen also in the canopy camp area. Some of the species in the Darien are what we call near endemic, Panama and Colombia only. And this is one of them, the great chick nonlet that can be found in the canopy campgrounds. Spot crown barbet, another near endemic, Panama and Colombia only, can be seen in the canopy camp. Gorgeous bird. And the black crown antpitta, one of the gnat eaters that can be found around a place called Quebrada Felix, which is right next door to the canopy camp area. And it's a beautiful forest. And this bird is just an amazing bird. Not an easy one, but last March, I was with some friends from England, actually, and we got to see this bird really, really well, actually a pair of them. And then one of the things that we enjoy around the canopy camp in Darien is working with the native people, using the trail, going into the dugout canoes around the river, and also people can buy their handcraft. It's really great how they have been changing the way they used to live in the past by cutting trees down now by getting some help from the tourism. So it's really great to work with them. This is what I look like most of the pandemic. I had to clean up today for you guys. This is actually what I had to shave today. Andy asked me to shave today, so I shave a little bit. Tropical river otter are also some of the mammals that can be seen along the river going up to the Indian village to find some of the birds. And this is what we use for transportation, the dugout canoe. And they measured the dugout canoe by the carrying capacity of plantains or banana. So this is a 10,000 plantain carrier. So when I when I call them to get a dugout canoe, I always have to tell them the number of bananas because, so we know we have enough space for everybody. Very comfortable. The rivers are like the highway for them. It's really nice to be in the river. Some of the highlights along the river or on the Indian village is this green and rufous kingfisher. One of the hard to find kingfisher in the Americas, but one of the Indian villages, they have a nice pond where we can see them. This bird have a very restricted range. It's the dusky back jacamar between Panama and Colombia. So the Indian village is one of the great places to find and to see them. Whitewater titan, a beautiful bird. It can be seen along the wetlands. Black Oropendula, another Panama and Colombia species. So in that end, we have this opportunity for you to see some birds that are hard to see in Colombia. Of course, one of my nemesis for many, many years was this crested eagle. We have them nesting once in a while around the areas, and the Indian village, when they found one, they let us know right away. So this is one of the birds, and of course, our national bird, the harpy eagle. So one of the birds that we enjoy watching, and right now we have a nesting site. So find out, ask Naturetrek for the harpy eagle trip at the canopy camp, and then we can, they can set up everything for you guys. But last year I went with some friends, and we have crested eagle and harpy eagle on the same day. It's really great to see. This is the 13-month-old harpy eagle that we have been seeing around the area there. This is a little video, a short video of the young one. It's flying around, it's doing great. So we're very, very happy with this gorgeous bird. So we're looking forward to having you here in Panama in the near future. Hopefully, please stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully things are gonna get better. I'm sure they're gonna get better, but for now we have to stay safe and healthy. Hopefully we can, sit on the top of the canopy tower, having a cold beer and enjoying the birds and the bird leaves and the tour with Naturetrek. So Canopy Tower, Canopy Lodge, and Canopy Camp. Remember that, it's a great spot in Panama, good birding areas. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Carlos and Paul, for fantastic presentations there. Carlos, that was fantastic. Great stories of you reminiscing birding from the shower. That sounds quite enviable, actually. And I'm not going to ask who goes to the effort of counting all of those bananas that goes into the dugout canoes, but what an impressive repertoire of bird calls you do have. We're going to go to a short break now. We'll be back at 8:25, so just over 5 minutes, well, just under 10 minutes. And we will be going to Guatemala and Honduras after the break. So we'll be back at 8:25.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Y me muero por tenerte junto
Okay, welcome back, everybody. I'm now going to hand over to Byron, who will be taking us to Guatemala. Over to you, Byron. I think your camera's not working. Is that correct?
Yes, that's very correct, Sarah. Welcome, everybody. We're going to do our best to share with you all these beautiful images of this fantastic country, but I've been completely in the darkness here with the draconian methods that Naturetrek has put me on. So we're going to start. So can you all hear me fine? Now, can I just check that?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Fantastic. Well, here we go. I know you cannot see me. I'm sorry for that, folks. Welcome to another exciting talks of the Naturetrek Roadshow slideshows that we normally do to enhance your interest of the many, many destinations we do across the globe. Today, for me, it's been a pleasure to hear, to listen to all my colleagues and bring me a lot of lovely memories of with those beautiful talks. So thank you to Paul Stanbury and my dear friend and old colleague, Carlos Bethancourt down in Panama. It was lovely to see bits of those beautiful countries. My name is Byron Palacios. I've been tour leading for Naturetrek in the last 20 years, I think, and worked a while as consultant as well, designing a lot of the destinations, mainly in the Latin America area and the Western Palearctic. Today, as I said, is a pleasure to talk to you about a beautiful country, the very, very heart of the Mesoamerica, the heart of Central America, Guatemala. Guatemala is a small, relatively small piece of land located right in the heart, as I said, of Central America, bordering Honduras, El Salvador, and Belize on the east, and Mexico mainly in the north and west, having the oceans on both of the sides, the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean, or bits of the Atlantic, and the Gulf of Mexico. Very important to trap all those birds in in this strip of land that actually extended in the Nearctic. You know, the Nearctic and Neotropic flora got this sort of crossing over the Isthmus of Panama when it was formed. That was around 3 million years ago, and they used like a bridge to cross over and populate these beautiful niches, as well as that. The actual structure of topography of Guatemala created this very, very active volcanic belt. There are 33, I think, volcanoes in Guatemala, a lot of them really active, and that creates over the years a lot of lovely habitats. The country's got 4 main ecosystems. We're visiting nearly all of them, so starting with the south and the north, and we do the interior valley or the thorn scrub area as an extension later on this fantastic tour. So flying into Guatemala City, direct flights from the UK to Mexico, and then Mexico diverting to Guatemala on a shorter second leg of a flight. And after landing in Guatemala, we move into the beautiful Antigua. La Antigua Ciudad de Guatemala, one of my favorite, if not to me personally, one of the most beautiful Latin American spots or colonial cities. Beautiful streets and surrounding by this beautiful belt of volcanoes. 4 volcanoes, one of them really active, surrounded the lovely Antigua in Guatemala. Beautiful accommodation in these old traditional houses that are being beautifully done up to get the tourists, with beautiful gardens overlooking the volcanoes, of course, and lovely and comfortable rooms. We'll start our trip in a minibus exploring the surroundings of Antigua, go to the Finca del Pilar, one on the top of the broadleaf mountain forest. We'll start just looking at beautiful local wildlife, one of the Mesoamerican wildlife. Some endemics like bushy crested jay. You have blue-throated moth, another beautiful, very elusive bird. I've always struggled with. It makes me work hard, this little thing, but we often get great views. Brownback solitaire, very elusive, making this fantastic metallic sound that you can listen throughout the forest. And plenty of the birds, migrants like this eastern bluebird. All these beautiful wildlife, you know, across this beautiful landscape. And you can see here Volcán de Fuego, or El Fuego volcano, which is really active, and normally you can hear the massive trembles going around, explosions, and you can see all the fumes coming out of the cantera. And you can take, if you're artistic enough, take beautiful pictures like this. A picture of olive-sided flycatcher on top of this snag with a Fuego volcano in the background. Carry on birding along the comfortable tracks, you know, beautiful forest you can see around this lovely area. Ended up in this hummingbird gardens, which produce very beautiful local birds, local hummingbirds, you know, like eared hummingbird, violet saber-wing. We have from the mountain gem, Rufus saber-wing, and so sometimes Wilson's warbler joins along. This is one of the North American migrants that are really abundant in this area. And then a well-deserved lunch after a very good morning of wildlife and camaraderie with our participants. And after lunch, just to, you know, digest a little bit, we'll have a little walking around Antigua on a little mini city tour, looking at the highlights of this beautiful city, its colors, its people, its beautiful buildings, and why not just sneak out to get some souvenirs from the local people. Maybe in the late afternoon, we'll have another little chance to do a quick birding walk or wildlife walk around the other parts of the mountains, of the hills, coming back to our beautiful accommodation, very comfy. For a very well-deserved rest. Moving on, we'll keep exploring different parts of the south, this time going to as high as Tecpan, in one of the Tecpan passes, with lovely birds to encounter here: Rufus brown, wren, mountain trogon, elegant Ethonia, the endemic blue and white mockingbird, really lovely bird, size of a magpie, just putting around, really elusive. The beautiful hummingbirds like this lovely garden-throated hummingbird, the always handsome red-faced warbler, an American migrant. But the beauty of this stop is this fantastic thing, pink-headed warbler, one of the endemics. Beautiful, beautiful things to watch. And we often see them like this, singing away, really close to the branch. So photo opportunities are really good as well with this one. Carry on with our exploration in the south of Guatemala. We arrived to this beautiful reserve called Los Terrales. Los Terrales means giant bamboo, which is plenty in this area. This is a very particular project, very interesting, because it supports one of the Cacique local communities, providing them their own schools, health services, all self-sustainable with their production of ornamental flowers and coffee, shade coffee as well. Remember, Guatemala in the last 15 years has been well known worldwide because of the fantastic coffee they produce. Again, the old farmhouse is being beautifully done up to this fantastic accommodation and very comfortable. We're going to share, not talking about the food and the landscape, as we can see here out in the gardens. The Atitlan volcano is the first thing you see, and alongside the trees and all the vegetation around, you can find fantastic birdlife like these white-bellied cachalaca, turquoise-bright motmot, speckled breasted oriole. And around the hummingbird feeders, we have some fruit, and they laid some papayas and bananas on the bird tables. As you can see, black-headed saltators and toucans and quails and many other things, lessons, motmot. We have the cinnamon hummingbird around the gardens. And in one of our walks, if we're lucky, we can find this roosting mother owls around there. So together with the toddy motmot, we're usually in the same spot where it's likely to find a toddy motmot well just beneath the sleeping, roosting mottled owls, because it's all quiet and he's well guarded there. Another part of this trip in the south, it's the beautiful long-tailed manakin. Stunning manakin is one of my favorite birds. I don't know if you saw them really well. It's really, really nice. And also the other endemic, really sought after, and we always after this little thing, rufous-breasted spine-tail. Beautiful bird to find and see, a good challenge. Other birds like Prevott's ground sparrow, and even if we are sharp enough to spot this striped basiliscus, which is head down, is a bonus in our trips. Our trips, we all follow the route of birds, but we watch everything, butterflies, reptiles, and the more we can see, the better. As well as mammals like this lovely Central American agouti, which is easily found, or meandering around the lodge. Exploring higher up, we go to another location called Finca Los Andes. Another place would produce beautiful coffee, one of the best in the region, and tea. So as you can see here, lovely, fresh, rounded coffee and tea leaves are waiting for us for a fantastic start of the day, while taking the trails and birding, looking for Stygian owls. We're lucky enough to see one of these beautiful owls, really one of the more difficult large owls to see in the neotropics. Emerald toucanets. If we're lucky as well, we can bump into this, lovely as we did, I think a couple of years ago, into this beautiful ornate hawk eagle. But the start of the trip, another endemic, Azure-rumped tanager or Cabanisi tanager. Beautiful, colorful. They're all the tanagers from the genera Tanager are really colorful, and throughout many countries in the Americas you can see them, especially in the neotropical areas. One of the stars of the trip, although quite difficult but easily to spot, never impossible, is this beauty. You can see the back of it. That's the lovely quetzal, resplendent quetzal, find in one of our trips as well, if possible. So fingers crossed we'll find those. We always work hard in this quiet forest. Very elusive and timid bird, but very possible. And sometimes while scanning for birds, we can always bump into these lovely mammals, like in this case, this white-nosed coati. Back to the lodge for a little bit late lunch and chilled, you know, overlooking the beautiful gardens. And the last landscape as well. The hummingbirds around, you know, like this blue-tailed emerald, and also orioles, Baltimore oriole, one of the North American visitors as well. And another endemic, Central American pygmy owl, Guatemalan pygmy owl as it's called now. And killing the afternoon, just driving back to our comfortable lodge. But the landscape, the evenings, you know, a beautiful sunset as well as sunrises. Then moving into one of the fantastic natural assets of Guatemala, the stunning Atitlán Lake, which shows beautiful, beautiful accommodation for one of the trips. You know, you can see here, you can basically spot all the wildlife you can from our dining area. Birds like painted bunting, golden-browed warbler, the beautiful wine-throated hummingbird, and cherry-tails as well. Will all be visible in these places, as well as whiskered screech owl, which is possible to find in one of our early walks. And why not the fulvous owl, another one endemic of the area. If we're spotting near the base of the volcanoes, we can always be lucky enough to go on a hike, which is optional, to see these wonderful birds, horned guan, a beautiful, beautiful animal, which looks really prehistoric with that beautiful horn. And in some of our trips, we have had fantastic views, and it's worth seeing this fantastic animal. So gorgeous. Plenty of the tanagers, rusty sparrow as well, found around, and another endemic belted flycatcher, beautiful birds to find. We also have always the chance in our lodge to, you know, to get some lovely sunset photographs here overlooking San Pedro volcano and Atitlán volcano. Then back to Guatemala City, we're going to get ready to explore the north. So we board a plane to fly around 1 hour from Guatemala City to the north, the department of Petén, down to the city of Flores, the island of Flores, a very picturesque town, from where we drive a good hour and a half to the far north, Tikal, not far from the Belize border. Tikal, world-renowned heritage, Mayan culture ruins, architectural reserve and ruins are fantastic. Firstly, we arrived to our accommodation. Again, beautiful accommodation, nice and comfy rooms, but quite noisy because right above our cabins, we could have very naughty spider monkeys playing or having a fight. So it's a spectacular scenery. Well, as soon as you arrive, you see all these beautiful animals displaying and showing off around. Ocellated turkey is another bird that you can easily see around the grounds of the complex, as well as many other birds like this pale-billed woodpecker. And in the Mayan ruin itself, we take a good exploration along the trails, beautiful trails that, you know, we do some wildlife, well, as walking, birding, and spotting mammals and monkeys, and as well arriving to the different plazas and complexes of this beautiful archaeological reserve. Howler monkeys are fantastic to see as well, really easy. Yucatan black howler monkeys in this case. This spider monkey that you can get, I bet you can guess that is a boy, well-detected boy. Big birds like this crested guan, royal flycatcher, Lessons motma, bare-necked tiger heron near the water pools in the reserve, and also Morelet's crocodile can be also seen nearby. Many species of trogons, as I said, like this slaty-tailed trogon, another endemic mammal, you know, Yucatan squirrel, easy to see, easy to spot around. From the towers, you know, from the archaeological ruins, you can climb some of them and take a look around all these fantastic views of the whole complex from the canopy, which is mind-blowing. You can spot as well toucans like this colored aracari, Many falcons and raptors, king vultures as well can be spotted from there. The beautiful Moctezuma or Pendola, and down along the trails, as you can see, we can always bump into white-nosed coati troop that they are really confident and just walk around like nothing happens. They just focus on finding food. Amazing animals. Again, beautiful and delicious lunches while we doing our exploration of Tikal, moving along to different reserves, another Maya beauty, Maya complex, which is Yaksha, another beautiful temple overlooking the Bethancourt lake. We can go again to the top of these lovely pyramids to watch beautiful wildlife like Morse lake-tailed trogons, howler monkeys, Yucatan black howler monkeys, amazing species, black-headed trogons, more royal flycatchers and orange-breasted falcon. And finally, but never the least, you know, it's another of the trips exploring farther, a bit farther south from this archaeological ruins. It's the reserve of Las Guacamayas, beautiful biosphere reserve. We have beautiful accommodation as well, really comfortable. We can find a lot of different wildlife, but different as well, more exciting birds like these ant followers, you know, this ruddy with creeper. We have also gray-headed tanager, Wilson's warbler, another American visitor warbler, yellow-breasted chat, red-capped mannequin, one of the local mannequins in this area, as well as colored mannequin, very beautiful birds. Mannequins are just fantastic to watch all the time. Long-tailed hermit, one of the hummingbirds find as well nearby, and why not more howler monkeys? Why not? We'll never get tired to watch them. Again, all along these fantastic views of the tropical rainforest in this area. Before heading back to Guatemala City, we're going to take a little look of the island of Flores before catching a flight back. And a very picturesque city, as you can see, over the lake, the Ten. It's flying back to Guatemala is always a spectacular, just especially at dawn, when you can see the top of the volcanoes while we going down there. And on our very last day, we take a look around one of the reserves not far from the city, just half an hour by car, which is Cerro Alush. And again, just to catch up with whatever we missed on the very first day exploring this fantastic habitat, Steller's Jay and black-throated green. Well, I mean, I think it's Stansted warbler, backmat wren, and so on. So the list is it's really done to make people with big smiles, as you can see here, of one of our groups down there. And I really hope that this has been enough. I mean, we will need a couple of hours and not 20 minutes to talk about this beautiful country, but as my other colleagues share their passion for their own countries, I think it's been just a pleasure to share this little bit with all you. And I hope this inspires you to go to this beautiful country, Guatemala. Over to you, Sarah. I think people will be questioning already or wondering a lot of beautiful questions for this fantastic destination. I'm sorry you cannot see me, but over to you, Sarah. Thank you very much.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Byron. Brilliant presentation and just stunning photography there. Really lovely images. We're going to hand straight over to Alex, who is in Honduras and is going to talk us through the joys of a wildlife holiday over there. Over to you, Alex.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexander Alvarado from Honduras. For the ones who have been with me, okay, located on the very western part of the country, about 3 hours away from San Pedro Sula and 10 minutes away from the Mayan site from Copan, which is really close to me. If I just want to go every day to look for the macaws, I just do that. Or maybe I just can go out to the parking lot, watch up, and I have scarlet macaws around. So life is good in here. I hope for you as well, okay? So I have been working for Naturetrek for the last 5 years, 6 years around, yeah. And I have been able to lead sometimes 6 or more groups every year coming to Honduras. And I specialize more like in endemism, you know, all these North American endemic birds that they overlap countries like A few they do with Guatemala, and others they do with Nicaragua. So I'm going more for those birds. I like to chase birds, difficult things. And during all this time working for Naturetrek, I had a lot of experiences. I mean, looking for different things and finding out good things for them. But I want to talk to you about the tour they have in Honduras, about the highlights that you will be able to see if you come to a place like this, and things that we do for conservation and the way we deal out with the birding in Honduras. So Honduras is not very well known. I mean, its reputation, like a birding country, is not as big as other countries around. But we have a lot of good stuff, and we have something interesting on the birds, like their behaviors. As they don't get as many tourists as other countries. They can be like more friendly in many ways. So let's start. To check out what we have in the country. Let me share this small presentation. Let's see. There. So the macaws you see on this screenshot, they are the national bird of Honduras. And we have them located mostly on the very eastern part of Honduras, which is called La Mosquitia. And La Mosquitia, it borders with Nicaragua. Uh, Let me check. Okay, there he is. Okay, so La Mosquitia borders with Nicaragua, way down to the very eastern part. All this green part that you see on the map, that's national areas. This is a protected area, which is probably bigger than Belize, and then all the small green patches you see around, those are the nature reserves we visit mostly when we're on tours. But with Naturetrek, we have like base hotels in our tours, and one of them it's in Pico Bonito National Park, which is located on the northern part of the country. Pico Bonito, it's probably one of the most stunning, luxurious hotels where you can stay in Central America. Actually, this is top rated in the top 50 of the best small hotels in the world. So being in here and enjoying all the wildlife around can be a pretty good highlight in your, expeditions in all these destinations you're always choosing to go around. So the national park in total, it has a boast over 600 different species of birds, and we have around 800 different species of Honduras. So 80% of these species of the country, they can be found in these mountains. And these mountains are called mountains Nombre de Dios. So the mountain range, it boasts other national parks around, but this one, the Pico Bonito, it's basically the areas which we are visiting when these nature groups come into the country. Due to the topography of Honduras, in places like Pico Bonito Lodge, you're able to find three or let's see, five different species of mudmots in the gardens. In the screen, you can appreciate this broad-billed mudmot next to a kill-billed mudmot, which are found sometimes in the lower trails or loop trails at Pico Bonito, or just in the grounds, you're able to reach 30 mudmot, turquoise brown mudmot, and the lessons mudmot, which, it's a good number of mudmots for a small place and a small area. So the diversity in Pico Bonito goes up to expectations. We got these white color mannequins, plus we got red cap mannequins in the gardens as well, feeding on these maconia trees while you're having breakfast. So you can just put your mind on the beautiful scenery and mannequins hopping around. Yellow-eared toucanids are one of those most prized toucans along, this family of species. The ranges are basically Honduras all the way down to Costa Rica and I think a little bit of Panama. The loop of Pico Bonito trails can have access to find out a species like this one. The other toucans around, they are much more common either while you're having breakfast or maybe you're walking around one of the lower elevation trails, you can reach to the killbills or colored arazaris, or sometimes in, let's see, like in March, April, the emerald toucanids, they move down from the mountains and they come down to the fruit eating ponds that they have in the lush grounds. So the diversity, it's quite incredible in these gardens. White hawks can be seen sometimes from the observation towers or just from the outside of the restaurant while you are, walking the grounds. The owls, the owls are good enough to impress you while you're there. We got, let's see, mottle owls, we have spectacle owls, we got crested owls, we got these Middle American screech owls, we have ferruginous pygmy owls, just in the lower areas of the lodge. I'm talking about the gardens. Sometimes when you take a hike, take a walk around the gardens, you're able to reach species like these ones. So it's kind of like a birding paradise. We can tell about that. Okay. The ornate hawk eagles, if you take one of the hikes that goes up into the loop trail and you go to one of these observation towers, pretty much every day around 10 a.m. in the morning, we get to reach species like ornate hawk eagles, black and white hawk eagles, and black hawk eagles. These birds, we have other places where we can see it in Honduras, of course, but this can be one of these best windows to find it. Uh, Probably the next place to get it could be La Muralla in the country. La Muralla, it's a national park located a few hours away from Pico Bonito. See, same as Panama, Costa Rica, or Guatemala, or these other countries around, we also have this beautiful family of trogons, and this guarded trogon, which Carlos was presenting a few minutes ago. It's one of the most common species of trogons for the area. And Pico Bonito, the Pico Bonito Lodge, they have guarded trogons, they have colored trogons, they got black-headed trogons, slaty-tailed trogons, and if you go up higher up, sometimes you can reach out to the last corners of the range of the mountain trogons, plus black-throated trogons, which are common around the gardens. So the diversity is quite amazing. And this bird is one of the brings hundreds of people every year to the lodge, brings thousands of people from everywhere. So this one in particular, the lovely cotinga is one of the most targeted species. It's one of the birds that everybody wants to see while they are staying there, and it can be reachable. Like you can reach this bird sometimes while you're at the hotel. I mean, either in the reception area or sometimes while you're at the restaurant. But if you just take one of the trails that goes around the garden and you find one of those fruit eating fig trees or one of these mistletoes with fruits, then you're gonna get more than one of these ones. I have seen in groups of about 16 or 20 sometimes in the trees, so it's quite spectacular to see this activity, like this number of activity on the grounds. They usually come with chlorophonias. They bring euphonias, sometimes manakins or white-throated thrushes. They make it in a group as well. So it's quite spectacular. The woodpeckers, like chestnut-colored woodpeckers, black-cheeked woodpeckers, the golden fronted woodpeckers, pale-billed woodpeckers, lineated woodpeckers, they can also be seen in the lower parts of the lodge. The hummingbirds. Okay, just the lodge it boasts about 12 different species of hummingbirds, but a few minutes away from the Pico Bonito Lodge, you find out a place called Rio Santiago, and this place boasts over 20 different species of hummingbirds. They have a record of 22 different species of hummingbirds coming to their feeders. So hummingbirds like this Jacobin, saberwings, hermits, barbthroats, and blue-throated golden tails, and many other species, they get to reach to Rio Santiago, and we make excursions daily to Rio Santiago where you can have these wonderful experiences. The honey creepers, they also make it to the feeders of these places like Rio Santiago, which are located half an hour away from Pico Bonito Lodge. That's the good thing about coming to Pico Bonito, that you are able to reach to many species in just a short term. There is another place nearby called Puerto Salado when you can get to reach all these aquatic species, we can call it, all the shorebirds, all the herons, and, and parrots and many other things like kingfishers while you are at the hotel. The Forniridae family, little creepers, they are present in numbers as well. We have the washbills, we have longtails, we have northern barber creepers, We have ivory bills, cockle creepers. So this place can be like, you know, a stunning destination for any future plans that you'd be taking on to Honduras. So besides Pico Bonito, I mean, the main site, we also do the day trips to the Honduran Emerald site, which is located about 2.5 hours, 3 hours away from the lodge. And while you're there, you are able to get into a different, completely different kind of habitat, which is a dry thorn forest. The dry thorn forest there will provide you other things like the roadrunners, the Honduran Emerald, which is the only endemic Southing's emerald, white-bellied wren, which is an isolated population from Belize and Guatemala into Honduras. So, the 7 days or more days trip into a place like this can put you out with 200 to 300 different species just in the Pico Bonito Lodge area. But then, if you take the extensions to La Tigre National Park, we get to reach the Mesoamerican endemics. And the Mesoamerican endemics is pretty much one of the main reasons that people come to Honduras, like the white-throated hummingbirds that overlaps ranges with Guatemala and a little bit of South Mexico, I think, as well. But one of the best places to find these birds can be here because you just get out of the car, hike for 20 minutes, and you get to reach, you know, to get stunning views like these ones. Whisker-Screech owls, they are live pretty much in the lodge grounds where we stay in Los Gloriales Inn in Tegucigalpa. And the singing whales, they have different behavior to Guatemala. You call them in La Tigre National Park and they come to the very edge of the trail. In Guatemala, they can be like more shy. I tell you this because I have been birding in Guatemala in many places and I know how they behave. So this can be, you know, pretty good spots for them. We have these subspecies of northern flickers, which are called Guatemalan flickers, and they, you know, overlap ranges with Guatemala as well. The mountain trogon is one of those highlights that every nature trek participant want to see when they come into Honduras. And this one, the green-breasted mountain gem. The green-breasted mountain gem it's a very, very unique species. We only overlap these with a little bit of Nicaragua. So one of the best places to see it in your excursions can be at La Tigre National Park when you are, I mean, in these nature trek extensions. Okay, and we got, hold on something, let me see. We got populations of crescent ones living in these highlands as well, which are almost, you know, living at 1,800 meters or 2,000 meters elevation. As my friend was telling a few minutes ago, as Byron was saying, these blue and white mockingbirds, they have the little corner of the range ending up also in Honduras. So La Tigre National Park is one of those places where you in your pocket, you can call it like that, okay? Black vented orioles in the south corner of their limits, they also come to La Tigre National Park, and you can see them while you're at Los Gloriales. Sometimes you just come out of breakfast and you get black vented orioles around, you get bush crested jays around. We got lineated woodpeckers, strong-billed creepers. We got these mockingbirds sometimes hopping in the gardens, and other things like the graces warblers, they can be possible as well in the grounds of Los Gloriales while you are staying there. The azure crown hummingbird in Honduras, this is a very unique bird as well for the country. We have two species of azure crowns. The ones they are similar to Belize and Guatemala, and then the other one we have in Mosquitia, which is more plain in with different sounds, with very different calls. There you go. These bush crested jays are the ones Byron was mentioning before. Yeah, they live in the gardens of the Los Gloriales, and usually what I do is I buy a little bread and I spray it around so they can and people can make good shots of it. The white-breasted hawk, they are subspecies of charging hawks that they have a different form in Honduras or Guatemala. So one of the best options for you to reach on these species can be if you make it through the extensions of Naturetrek. And then the fulvous owl. This is a very unique bird. It behaves a lot during the day. Usually we call it during the day. And this is a very short story. The first time I ever showed this bird to a tourist, I was with a Naturetrek participant. And a friend of mine told me that if I would call it during the day, he would come to me, and I did it. And I was with a group of Naturetrek when that happened. So fulvous owl, it's something unique. It's a tropical version of the barred owls of North America. Then you have these rufous colored thrushes, which are also regional endemics that they only occur in this limited range. Yellowback orioles can be very common in the gardens of Los Goriales and also in other pine forests in Honduras. Blue crown clariphonias is another Mesoamerican endemic. They can be seen either in Panacan Lodge, Pico Bonito Lodge, or also in these high altitudes of La Tigra National Park. And this is one of the highlights that every people wanna see when we come to these high altitude mountains, the resplendent quetzals. So these birds can usually be found in La Tigra or sometimes in other altitude mountains around. We're gonna show you a little bit of the Lake Yohoa area, which is located about 3 hours away from Tegucigalpa, 3 hours away from Pico Bonito. It's pretty much in the center of the country. And Panacam Lodge, it boasts a huge diversity of the species with access to the Lake Yohoa area, which is one of these small lakes that has the largest population of snail kites in Honduras. Probably 2,000 snail kites lives in the surroundings of the Lake Yohoa. Tiger herons, stilts, dogs, which are migrating from North America, they make their stopping here. The diversity goes in huge levels. We got 4 species of vultures around the lake. We got lesser Aguilar vulture. We have black turkey, and we have king vultures. They live around the Lake Yohoa. So there is a small patch to dry forest about an hour away from Panacan, and we can reach lesser ground Cuco. We can also reach to Honduran emerald. You can reach to crested bobwhites or spot-bellied bobwhites, lesser road runners, and a huge other number of hummingbirds from dry forest species like cinnamons or very line hummingbirds. So just so you can have an idea of what we have in the country. I'm just talking about 3 different spots. Imagine what we have in the south. Imagine what we have all over the western part of the country, all over the Pacific Highlands. The country, it's incredible because within an hour you can reach to many kinds of habitats. So for people like you that they make a long way from the UK to Central America, I highly recommend you to come for a couple of weeks or more because there are so many options and so many things you can reach out while you are in these burning spots or these amazing destinations. The white-winged cars are possible in the Lake Yohoa area where we are at Los Naranjos National Park. This is a place which is half away from the hotel, half hour away from Panacan, and they can be reachable pretty much in the morning or sometimes late in the afternoon as they are active calling and responding sometimes to the bird sounds. So Honduras is not just birds. We have archaeology in Nicopan. We have all these ethnical groups which are rich in culture all over the country. We have the snorkeling. We have the diving and many other good things that you can mix for in the country. Or if you like bugs, if you like reptiles, in every single tour we spend some time showing stuff like that. So I hope for the next time you make it into the country, we can be able to show you a little bit more of what's in Honduras, and hopefully the pandemic thing be over and we can, be in the tropics again, enjoying orchids as the way I do. I have orchids all over my garden. I'm in the garden actually, and I have over 500 species of orchids with me, that I take care about. So I'm gonna hand you to Sarah. She's gonna take care of you. And thank you very much for letting me this time to share this few minutes with you. Thanks to Carlos and Byron, Sarah, Paul, and all the ones that made it possible. So thank you so much. And any questions or whatever, we can deal with it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Alexander. That was just a fantastic presentation. Although your background is somewhat distracting, it is wonderful with all of the birds you've got flying on around behind you. I must say you certainly win for the best background so far of doing our evening webinars. I'm very jealous.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to go now to some questions. Thank you all for sending your questions in. Please do feel welcome to continue to do so as we go over some of the ones that have already been submitted. The first one I'll read out is from Peter Rendell. Byron, I'll put this one to you. What is the chance of seeing resplendent quetzal in Guatemala, and do you make a special effort to see one? I missed seeing one when I was in Costa Rica. Byron.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Well, to Peter Rendell as well, thank you for joining us. Well, iconic birds are hard to see, normally hard to see, and resplendent quetzal is probably the hardest to see of all the quetzal species. We do, however, make huge efforts and do visit a couple of very good areas for them, and I think we so far haven't missed it. So sometimes we get the whole thing, sometimes we had just the head, sometimes we had just the tail, but we know it's there. But as I said, we always give a good go, and we often see them.
Great, thank you, Byron. And we've had a few questions come in about the Panama trip, getting in between the canopy tower and adding on extensions, combining the Harpy Eagle trip with an extension to the tower or the lodge. I'll put that question to Andy and also to Carlos, if either of you would like to answer that question.
Yeah, we can. Thank you very much again, everybody, for being here tonight. Yes, we can combine as you decided to do it. Naturetrek, besides having their set departure days, they can also do custom tours. So if you want to come and do any of the custom tour between tower, lodge, and camp, they're possible. And also, if you finish one of the main tour and you want to add to one of the lodges, you can do that as well. So there's no problem. Transportation between lodges are included. We'll pick you up at the airport. So you just have to come to Panama, just ready to have a good time and enjoy nature, and we'll take care of the rest.
I'll just add to that, Carlos. I was just sharing some private chat with Carlos during Alex's talk, and we reminded each other actually pre-pandemic, we were planning a Highlights of Panama tour to take in the 3 canopy properties, the camp, tower, and lodge, combined with the Panamanian Highlands. And I think there's been enough interest tonight, and a few of you asking whether Carlos leads our tour, to actually thrust ourselves into action now. So myself and Carlos have made a pact with each other. We are going to roll out that Highlights of Panama tour with Carlos as leader. So if you want to travel with him to see the best of Panama, that will be on the cards in 2022.
I'm in for it. It'll be fun.
Thank you, Carlos. We have a question here from Peter Booth. Is there always sufficient time for photography, or would you be eroding badly into the specific day's agenda and holding everything up? Paul, I'll put that one to you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yes, there's normally time for photography. I would say for very keen photographers, we do have some dedicated photography tours. We do a photography tour to Costa Rica, led by some great local guide, and also the one of our UK tour leaders, Kevin Elsby, who's a very good photographer himself. But there's usually time for photography, the lodges as well. Will have bird feeders and hummingbird feeders. So if you want to opt out of a morning or an afternoon walk and just spend some time doing photography around the feeders, then that's absolutely fine. Our walks are generally going at a pretty slow pace, stopping frequently to look at the birds and the other wildlife. So there's normally time to photograph during a tour.
Thanks, Paul. A question here from Jill Butt. Is it feasible in Honduras to combine the birding sites with a visit to the Coban ruins?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Well, if you just come to Pico Bonito, and then we can find out a way to bring him to Copan Ruinas for 3 or more days. If you come for 2 days, it's gonna be like a taste. If you come for 3 days, then he will have a full information of the Mayan side and birds. If he wants to do other things, there are a lot of options to do in Copan. Like he can spend more days and do other beautiful things. I mean, including this kind of nature hikes like orchids, butterflies, reptiles, coffee plantations, horseback riding. There is a lot of activities he can do around, but he just wants to come mainly for the site. I would recommend him 3 nights and that would be a perfect combination for him. If he's a photographer, he will enjoy photographing scarlet macaws, because scarlet macaws, he goes up on the temples and they fly eye level. So something like that would be lovely for him. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Alexander.
Yeah.
Carlos, a question for you on Panama. This is from Stephen Fowles. What are the typical temperatures and levels of sogginess there? I quite like that question.
This is a tropical country, so the lowland where we are is humid. It's quite humid, but you know it's not. What we are in the forest is very pleasant and very nice. The Canopy Lodge is in the foothills, so it's higher elevation. It's cooler up there. Canopy Tower is lowland forest, and Canopy Camp is lowland forest. So those two places can be hot. So we recommend to drink a lot of water, a lot of liquid. So yeah, we do find at night is very pleasant. It's not just during the peak hours, during the 11 to 2 in the afternoon, 3. And normally we are inside, having lunch, taking a break, and when we go out again in the afternoon, after 3. So we plan everything really well for everybody to be able to do the tour.
Thanks, Carlos. Andy, I'll put this question to you. It's a question that we get asked quite frequently as operations manager of most of the Central American tours. Are leeches a problem in any of these fascinating countries? That's from Ian Smith.
What are leeches?
That's a perfect response from Carlos, because this came up in the questions and I typed. Actually, you're very lucky if you see a leech, because they're quite rare. So the guys would back me up here. You just don't see them. So it's a relevant question for Southeast Asia, but for the guys here, we just never see them, do we?
Great, thank you, Andy and Carlos.
Well, I do remember now in Asia, when I went to Asia, I did, somebody mentioned those. Okay, yeah, they get into just, I see. Okay, blood and no, we don't have those.
Thanks, Carlos. A question for you, Paul. We've had a couple of people clearly inspired by the wonderful beach shots that you've included on your Costa Rica trip and would like to go in for a dip and a snorkel. Is it possible to snorkel around Corcovado?
Yes, you can do some snorkeling. There's an island off of the national park called Cano Island, where you can snorkel around there. What we don't actually include it on our main tour. It's something we can arrange. It's not a problem. There is a sort of a free day on the during the time in Corcovado. We arrange walks and excursions, etc. But if you wanted to opt out of one of those and do the Cano Island boat trip, then that's absolutely fine. We can arrange that for you, and you can go snorkeling from there.
Thanks, Paul. Another one for you while we're still on Costa Rica. Janice Atwood asks, what's the best time of year to visit Costa Rica to see a variety of wildlife?
Well, really, you could visit throughout the year, but we do most of our trips between January and April, mid-April, which are the driest times of the year in Costa Rica, and it's also the time when a lot of the North American migrants are down in the country wintering. So you have great diversity of birds, and so we run most of our trips at January to April time. So it's also a good time just to leave the UK when it's a bit cold and snowy and wet. But if you want to see turtles, then you need to go a few months later, maybe August, September, October, and just avoid the really wettest months of the year, which they tend to be during our summertime.
Thanks, Paul. Another question on Costa Rica. This is from Patsy Coles. Is there an opportunity to photograph hummingbirds feeding naturally rather than on feeders?
Yes, they are easier to photograph on feeders, but there are a lot of the lodges we use. I'm sure it's the same in the other country we've been talking about as well. They plant hummingbird friendly flowers and plants it around the grounds. So yeah, if you set yourself up on a likely looking bush or flower and you're patient, yeah, you can certainly do that. It's easier on the feeders, but you can see them on the natural vegetation as well. They're just very quick.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree with that. I spent many a happy an hour when I stayed in Costa Rica at Salva Verde Lodge, just sitting in a hammock on my balcony, just photographing hummingbirds that were whizzing around the balcony and didn't need to go near a feeder. And my best photographs of them were just on these plants around the vegetation near where I was staying. So I would agree. A question from Suzanne Weaving. Andy, I'll put this one to you. Which tours would be best for general natural history, including botany?
The challenge with botany in the neotropics is just the sheer diversity of species. You need a huge amount of time in the country to be able to get to grips with that. But some of our more general tours, like the Panama Mammals Tour, we take an interest in all aspects of natural history. So we're looking not just for the mammals, but the plants, the herbs, as the guys were saying, as well as the birds. So that's a great trip for the all-round naturalist. Clearly a tour like the Pico Bonito tour in Honduras, or the Costa Rica tour Paul has been talking about, is bird focused, but that doesn't mean to say we ignore other aspects of natural history. But the challenge here is, and just let me repeat, when we take you to the Alps or the Pyrenees in Europe, our botanical tour leaders will know everything you're looking at. But in the neotropics, that's a huge problem, because plants are flowering at different times of the year. Lots of the orchids are growing in a canopy, and the ground level plants are very much shaded. So it's important to get to the canopy to see the full diversity. So it's a challenge, but a tour like Panama Mammals will have a very broad outlook, looking at all aspects of natural history.
Thanks, Andy. And Alex, a question for you on the food in Honduras. Can you talk us through what the cuisine is like? Perhaps if it's easy to be a vegetarian there as well, what can you expect on a daily basis?
Well, basically, when you're at Pico Bonito, you are in one of these top fancy places where they will give you, pretty good stuff. And but we make all these British coming, all these North American coming. We make them to try the local things. We give them the experience to try what we have. Like, to give you an example, if you go to the Honduran Emerald Reserve from Pico Bonito, we wanted to try the beans, we wanted to try the baleadas, we wanted to try the stew chicken and stuff like that. So it's quite big in in flavors, and it depends on the regions you are. For example, if you are a Pico Bonito, it's gonna be a Caribbean style, because you are very close to the ocean, the shrimps and all this seafood is gonna be there. Then if you move to the central part of the country, like Lake Yohoa and La Tigra National Park, Tegucigalpa, you're gonna be more into the meats and more local style. So this is like that. And then if you come to where I live right now, where my hometown it is, Copan, places like this will give you a different kind of flavors. We eat a lot of vegetables that they don't even eat in the north. They don't even eat in the central part of the country. We show these people something from here and they don't know what it is. So we give them a lots of different options to the tourists. And one of my goals to the trip it is that that they have to try something that they never did. You know, so we are very open to show a diversity of cuisine that they didn't before, so they can have this unforgettable experience.
Thanks, Alexander. And a question from June Sparham. Byron, I'll put this one to you. Can you recommend, in your opinion, the best bird handbook for Central American birds?
Well, there are plenty of great guides for Central American birds, including the Mesoamerican region. I mean, starting from Howell book, which is one of the iconic ones. But I think the latest in terms of coverage of the whole main area of what we call Central America, it's The Birds of Central America by Andrew Vallely and Dale Dreyer. I think that's the one of the best and most complete handful of handbook of birds there. But there are plenty of other pocket guides as well. There's the Jesse Flanagan as well, Birds of Guatemala and Northern and Central America. I think other two editors, Helms produce another one, but Helm Guides or Princeton Field Guides, which is these Birds of Central America by Andrew Vallely, it's one of the best ones. And it's easy to find, really easy to find. Great illustrations, great coverage of taxonomy and systematics. It's really good.
Great, thanks, Byron. And thank you all so much for all of the comments that you're sending in, lovely comments coming in just to the panelists. But Sharon Troop, you've just said, thanks for some fascinating presentations. Costa Rica apart, I've never really thought about Central America, so it's been an eye-opener for me. I'll be studying the new brochure as my bedtime reading over the next week or so. That's great, Sharon. Pleased to hear that. Thank you. Andy, I've got two questions for you. Firstly, is there a direct flight to Panama from the UK? And secondly, are there any go slow trips to the places that we discussed tonight? And if not, are we going to plan any?
Okay, thanks. No direct flights to Panama City, but we use KLM, so regional departures from around the UK over to Amsterdam. And from there, it's a direct flight over to Panama City, about 10.5 hours, I think. So that's the best option that we go with. On the go slow tours, and also tying in a quick answer to that photography question earlier, is there time for photography? Some of the tours we've been talking about move around every 2 or 3 nights, but the tours that Carlos has been talking about typically have 7 nights at the Canopy Tower. So the pace is relaxed. There's no rush, 7 nights in the same accommodation, and plenty of opportunity to get those cameras out, particularly dawn in the Canopy Tower. There's no rush. And the same with the tour that Alex has been talking about in Pico Bonito, 7 nights in the same lodge. So unpack your suitcase properly and feel at home, feel bedded down for 7 nights. No rush, nice slow pace, opt in and out of activities, and plenty of photographic opportunities around the gardens of those 2 properties. So we're not sure we're going to go slow with any of these destinations because we fixed a certain criteria here, short direct flights and single centre. And some of these holidays have more than 2 centres and it's a long flight. So by our own criteria, I don't think they go slow, although the tours we've been talking about do meet much of our criteria.
Thanks, Andy. And another one to you from Alan Cox. Which of the Central American tours can be linked together? Can you do 2 tours back to back?
Myself and Paul would have to have a look at the tour calendar to work out what dates fix it. I can't answer that off the top of my head, but as we've been saying, if you pick a principal tour, you can easily add on neighbouring countries or alternative itineraries as a bespoke extension. So I can't answer off the top of my head, but we're pleased to get into a discussion with you this week.
Yeah, of course. If any of you do have any further questions that you think of, do just email us and we can always have any of the folks speaking to you tonight answer you if with any further thoughts. We've got some more comments coming in. Everyone's saying how much they're enjoying the presentations, brilliant presentations. Thank you all very much, folks. And I think we've had all of our questions answered as well. There's someone else thanking you, Andy, for the advice about go slow. So I think quite a few people were very interested to know that. Andy, do you have anything to add for before we wrap up for the evening?
Yeah, I just want to quickly tackle another question I've seen come up, and that's to do with safety. A couple of people have commented on the Foreign Office travel advice with respect to particularly Honduras and Guatemala. I'll leave Carlos and Paul out of this because Panama and Costa Rica are amongst the safest, most peaceful destinations on earth. But if you read the Foreign Office advice for Honduras and Guatemala and see what our government says about Tegucigalpa, Guatemala City and San Pedro Sula, you'd be tempted never to set foot in these destinations. But the fact is we've never had any security problems on our tours. We use quality local outfitters, transport and local guides who know the terrain. But I just put this question to Alexander and Byron. When you're with our groups in Honduras and Guatemala, how conscious are you of the safety aspect? And is it ever a concern to you when you're on the ground? Let's go with you first, Alexander.
Andy, you know, I have been doing this for many years, more than 10 years, leading trips, leading groups, and I have never been in troubles, never. Okay, and I'm going to explain this to people so they can understand the fact of what's happening. Guatemala City and San Pedro Sula, they are probably very popular in the bad news. Their reputation is really terrible because all the deadly reports from the whole country, like from Guatemala or maybe from Honduras, they come directly to these cities. This is where they count all what is happening. So the crime, it's being recounted in places like this, and then the data or the information comes out from the city. But this is a good point. Once you're landing in San Pedro Sula, you know, we have this Naturetrek group coming up. Sometimes some of them come first and the other ones come later. We either go out of the airport chasing for lesser ground cuckoos, bobwhites, and many other species out of the airport, and we never had incidents because whatever problems are happening in the country, like Honduras or Guatemala, they are related to local people. You know, they are problems between locals. They are not really against tourists. They know that they cannot affect tourists because if they affect tourists, they're affecting a big income to these countries. So stuff like that. Pico Bonito Lodge or any of the other burning spots I have in the country, places like this, we never had a single incident. never. So you can ask all the nature trekkers that they have been before, hey, did you check out any problem? No, we don't. And we walk by ourselves in the middle of the forest with no more tourists because Honduras is different to other countries. You can have the whole jungle for yourself. And things like this, it happens, and we are never worried about that something is going to happen. Even you can leave, because it happened to me. Sometimes we leave the car open because we stop for coffee or whatever in a cafeteria. We never get in these problems because people, they know who, can be affected or not. Mhm. Byron?
I think adding to what Alexander said, which is quite true. I mean, we normally are in the countryside. Now, it is like everything. Every single city around the world has its risks. Every single areas with, client population has got these risks. I mean, nobody told us don't go to Miami in the late 80s and 90s. And Miami was one of the cities with really, really high murdering rates. Nobody told you not to go. It was all undercovered, all dust under all the dust put under the carpet. So it's very relative. So I as Andy said, I mean, we'll never experience any problems. Honduras, when I've been leading tours in Honduras as well, we've been even to very remote areas, as Alexander said, looking for birds in middle of nowhere, and nothing happens. Everything is fine. I think where the wildlife is generally fine and safe. So and the locals protect that. As soon as they see visitors, foreigners, they do protect that because it's, as Alexander said, it's their income. So it's very relative, but there are still safe countries to go.
Great, thank you, Byron and Alex, for that. Well, a huge thank you to all of our presenters for joining us tonight, and thank you all so much for listening. This is the 10th presentation evening we've run so far, and if you've missed any of our previous ones, or even some of this one, a few of you have just commented saying that you missed the Costa Rica presentation. Now, don't worry, you can catch up with that online. It's all recorded, and there's a link to it from our homepage. So the link to tonight's recording will be up tomorrow, and you can hop on there this evening and see all of our previous recordings there already. So you can watch them at leisure. As always, if you do have any feedback, we're very happy to receive it. We always love to read your thoughts on these webinars. So please do feel welcome to email us at info@naturetrek.co.uk with any thoughts you may have. And finally, if you're a member of a natural history club or society and you'd like a Naturetrek speaker to deliver an online presentation to your members free of charge, then we'll be very happy to do that. Please just contact us to arrange it. We'll be back the same time on Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. We'll be taking you to the Caribbean, visiting St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Jamaica. So we hope you can join us then. We'll stay online for the next couple of minutes or so, just in case anyone has any last-minute questions. But until the next time, take care, everyone, and good night.
Good night.
Thank you,
Everybody.
guys. Good to see you, guys.
Good to see everybody.
Hopefully
Big
next time we'll be live.
Big hug from the darkness.
Un abrazo para todos.
Abrazo, Carlitos. Abrazo, Alexander.
Okay, see you,
abrazo,
Honduras.
hermanos. Cuídense.
Bye.
Bye.